this isn't the real reason you're on because I want to talk to you about a bunch of stuff, but we got to talk about the Bear.
Yeah.
This is the Backlash season. You knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
This always happens with television. You and Charles Holmes are breaking this down in the Prestige TV podcast, 2 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
And I think the general feeling that I'm getting in the Backlash season 3, which we could have predicted, is people are disappointed. People think it's a little too much. The show smelling its own farts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun enough. It's lost some of the spirit, especially the first season, that people really responded to with some of the dialogue and some of the back and forth. And it was just a little more personable and fun in season 1. And now that's been drained out of it. I have my thoughts, but give me your big picture thoughts, because I don't want to step on Prestige too much because you just finished it.
Yeah. Big picture, I think those people that feel that way are more right than they are wrong. But the season in its totality, I actually just finished it today. The season in its totality ends in a way that makes you excited for the next season. And that's essentially how you judge the last few episodes of a television season and a season period, right? They were able to build up to something that made you go, oh my God, now I want to see what happens. Now, if the show had gone off and you'd have been like, I don't really care about where these people are or what's going on with them, then I think some of the criticisms that I'm hearing right now would hit a little harder. But they were able to kind of scrape together, pun intended, a pretty decent dish. I will say that one episode in this season is just so hard to watch and it's so bad to me that that's already up on Prestige. There's an episode called Ice Chips, which is Sugar having her baby. It's just
the 8th
terrible
episode.
It's terrible.
I didn't think it worked either.
No. But yeah, the thing is with the Bear is it's the same thing that every show goes through, right? Like, we weren't expecting it to be as good as it was in season 1 and season 2. So when we have expectations, we judge the show in a different way.
All right, here's my defense of the Bear.
Oh, go for it. Oh, wow.
And I thought season 3 was a little uneven because I think he was filming season 3, Chris Storer, season 3 and season 4, kind of simultaneously as one giant 20 episode season. And I think season 3 basically serves as a device to get to season 4. You could argue it could have been 8 episodes instead of 10. You could have trimmed some fat. You could argue you could just watch episode 1, 3, 5, 6, and 10 and probably get a gist for everything he wanted you to know happened in there. But there's 2 things working against this show that I think have to be mentioned. Like I think it was on Slate, somebody wrote a piece about The Bear is a bad show.
Scathing.
That was scathing, which, by the way, I completely disagreed with the take, but I'm glad that people are still writing criticism like that it's not just Charles Holmes on a mountain by himself, just throwing crazy takes out. This show isn't meant to be consumed in the way that I think people consume TV in 2024. I want to start with that. This is a show nobody should watch more than 2 episodes in a row of. You should definitely not binge it. It's not meant to be binged. I don't know why Hulu/FX drops all of these at once like it's, The Night Agent on Netflix, because it's not that kind of show. And there's so much care and thought put into every episode. I think it really does the show a disservice. This isn't a show that you watch while you're on Hoops Hype, seeing if there's been a new signing, or you're on Twitter, or you're also like looking at Instagram reels. Like, this is like, these shows are like mini movies. Some of them work, some of them don't work as well. But the first episode, which whatever he tried to do in that I thought it was just an incredible episode of television.
Yeah.
But the real episode, and this is why I'll defend the Bear to the death, whether they have uneven seasons or whatever. And he's pulled this off a couple times. That 6th episode built around Tina and the flashback going backwards. I thought that was one of the best episodes of TV I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, ever. That's in the all-time pantheon for me, with best pick episodes from The Wire, pick episodes from Sopranos. Like, that's how good I thought that episode was. And if a show can do that you got to give it more leeway than be like, Backlash. Oh, it wasn't as good. That show was fucking incredible. So even if you just gave me 1, 6, and 10 from this season, it's a win. And they brought in some that, it got a little cameo friendly. I'm not sure we needed John Cena.
An abomination.
I think it got a little too flash forward, but that's the first thing I'll say. That episode 6, and for people who haven't heard it yet, I don't feel like most people who are listening at this point would have seen The Bear, but Tina, it's a backstory of how she ended up working for these guys. Yeah. And she's basically hit rock bottom. She's lost her job after 15 years and she's in her mid 40s and she's seen as she explains to John Bernthal's character who's dead, and they're talking about their lives and they just kind of connect in the restaurant. They had this 11-minute scene that's fucking incredible. And she's talking about these young people that are basically replacing her and they have a hope and a spirit to her that she's kind of jealous of, and she's like, I don't think that way anymore. I'm not hungry. Yeah. I just want a job because I'm trying to feed my kids. I miss having that hunger like that. And she's talking to Bernthal, we know the whole backstory with him that he's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
And then he goes into his whole thing about, he says, I knew I was getting skipped. That dream shit, it wasn't going to happen to me. Basically, he always knew that his brother was more special than he was, and he's going through the day-to-day. But the thing that drives him, he has this thing about food. And he talks about, if you think about the special moments in your life, you look back, food's always a part of it, and that's why I love being around food. So they just connect in this way. I don't know of another show that does connections like that. Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to always defend The Bear. And it might miss and it might get too smelling your own farty, but to have an episode like that, I thought was really special.
So Io directed that one.
I know. And I should have mentioned that because that episode was impeccably directed.
Impeccably directed. Just you can tell that she has a feel for it. The thing that I really enjoyed about it is this. It's like the story of one character in the show. And for the most of the episode, for the most part of it, we don't see anybody else that we recognize, right? They come in at the end.
It's the classic TV trope of they have to do a season. Sometimes they have to have the episode where Carm's not really in it and they build it around somebody else who's not around.
Right. But that show, that episode still answers fundamental questions about the show itself. Not just about Tina, not just about Mikey, not just about Richie, about the show itself. By taking us back into the restaurant, and we talked about this on the Prestige TV podcast, me and Charles, you guys should probably go listen to it. But by taking us back into that restaurant in times past, it answers questions about the restaurant. Because when the first time you see the place, you go, why would anybody want to work here?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like who would want to work in this place? Seeing how she got there, you're then so happy for her. You're so happy for the fact that she landed with this group of people. You're even happy that she got fired. Because sometimes in life, we don't understand that things that that happen to us that seem bad in the moment are actually the best things for us. It takes a whole bunch of reflection. And in a show, you never really get to see that because things are happening to the characters as you're perceiving them. But for her, you look at her and where she is now. She's got a job, not just that where she's making good money and she can take care of things, but she takes pride in her job.
Yeah.
She cares about it. She's met lifelong friends in it. She suffers some tragedy. Obviously, Mikey kills himself, but her job now is a part of who she is as a person. And that's something that she says in that episode was not a part of her before. Her job in the past was just something that she was doing. So to see how life happens to someone and they end up in a good spot, when you leave the episode, it makes you hopeful. You feel inspired. You feel good for the characters and you think that is how stuff happens. And that's what the show does better than anything else. It creates value for the dramatic situations that the characters find themselves in.
Yeah, she says, I don't want to be inspired. I don't want to be impassioned. I don't want to make magic. I don't need to save the world. I just want to feed my kids. Right. Yeah. And as she's talking, and Bernthal's character, and Bernthal is amazing in this episode too. And he's kind of sizing her up. And he's telling her stuff about his life, and they're just, one of the things I liked about the connection was sometimes when you watch these shows, it's like rapid fire back and forth. There's like long pauses. They're like really listening to each other, thinking about it, reflecting. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, offer a job, Mike. Just offer a job. And then he does it. I thought it was a really special episode. So that's one thing I'll defend. Then the other thing, and I think it's hard to see when you're just watching all these at once, but this season is really about Carm deciding, do I want to be really good or do I want to be great?
Yeah.
Right. And you know, I'm not like uncovering a big mystery, because that's obviously what it's about. But they're sprinkling this all the way through, and they're trying too hard to do it at some points. But ultimately, that Joel McHale character who fucks with him in the first episode, his mentor, and then it all circles around to this incredible showdown in the last episode in front of the bathroom when he's like, I gotta fucking say something to this guy. I actually thought it paid off. I thought it was really smart, but just the concept of somebody being like, I know I'm an A-. Can I get to an A+? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, including our friend Tommy, was like, Carm's been such a downer this year. Carm's the worst character on the show. It's like, Carm's not supposed to be your favorite character. Carm's on some sort of journey to see if he could be great or not. And he's got his brother who fucking killed himself, and that's hanging over his head. And he's got all these people he's in charge of. And he's so obsessed with it, he can't even see Sid, who is like basically halfway out the door, right? With a purse.
Doesn't even see it.
He's so blinded by his changing the menu every day and all these other, and just trying to get, and these reviews that haven't come yet. He can't even see this, that he might lose his best person. I don't know. I thought I've never seen that concept in a show before hit like as hard as it was. And honestly, I felt like the showrunner, the creator, Chris Storer, it's a little about him.
Yeah.
Right? It's like he created the show that people loved, and it's like, well, how great can this show be? And Carm becomes like the proxy of that. I thought it was cool.
So when you say Tommy, are you talking about Tommy Alter, future video coordinator of the Los Angeles Lakers?
Yeah, I'm talking about the lead assistant coach of the Lakers, Tommy Alter.
He'll be there pretty soon. Lead scout. So here's the thing about that scene, and we're gonna go deep into it on Prestige.
Yeah, I don't want to step on Prestige too much. But
right, we're going to go deep into it on Prestige. It saved the season. I mean, it did. Like, has it been the strongest season of The Bear to me? No, it hasn't been. It hasn't been. It's had ridiculously high highs, though, and a couple of low lows, or one low low in particular. I'll say two things. Number one, the two biggest mistakes. Number one, I didn't like the Ice Chips episode and the casting of John Cena. John Cena just does not belong in this world.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. Okay.
So we agree.
Yeah, John Cena, great for Peacemaker, other stuff. He just doesn't belong in this world. And it threw off the whole episode. That pays that scene off. I mean, that scene pays off the season, should I say, because there's emotional ambiguity to it. Like, you don't know who's right. Like, you know Carmy. And so you know that he wants to be as good as he possibly can be. You know that's what he wants, right? You know deep down, you see him drawing everything, sketching it out. You see him putting in the work. You see everything about his character is about diligence and sacrifice. How much he's willing to work.
Sacrificing his relationship because it was getting in the way of the restaurant.
How hard he's willing to work, how much he's willing to sacrifice. And the guy is standing there talking to him. It's almost like you're talking to the devil after you've sold your soul. And he's looking at you and he's going, well, wait a minute, you got what you want.
Yeah.
You wanted to be better. You got what you wanted. You might have not liked the way that I did it, but you got what you wanted. And you know what, man? Not to sound like the old guy in the room, but I also think that is a good scene just for us to litigate how we look at that now. That sort of...
Couldn't agree more.
Like how we look at that now. You know, we used to look up to guys like Michael Jordan or people that weren't shiny and perfect and all of that, but they drugged themselves through the broken glass to be great, and they came out with all of these scars. But we'd say, okay, the trade-off for that greatness is this, and we appreciate the trade-off. That's not how we are anymore. Really, that scene is a negotiation about whether or not it's worth it for Karm. And he's probably he's negotiating it himself as well.
But isn't that the point of the whole show? Is like all of these people are committed to basically Karm's dream to be great, not very good, right? To be, to go down as one of the great, even like with the way they did that, the last episode where he's just looking at all the different pictures of the great chefs and he's like, can I get there? Can I get there? But the other people that he's with have to share the dream of them, right? And that's his fatal flaw, is he doesn't realize how to bring those people along on the dream unless they're like related to him or they don't really have a better option. And he's going to lose Sid because he did not figure out that emotional leadership piece.
The thing is this, that's definitely true. Why are all of these people so anchored to him? Because he's so fucking good.
Right. Because that's what happens.
That's what, if he was any less amazing at being a chef, he just would not have the gravitas to ask from them what he's asking from them.
People want to be in the orbit of greatness, and they either stay or they take what they can take, and then they move on to the next place.
And oftentimes, when you get too close to greatness, like really the overwhelming majority of times, when you get too close to greatness, like right next to it, the thing you start to ask yourself is not whether I'm talented enough to do that. That's not what you ask yourself. You ask yourself whether or not I'm willing to be that person.
Right.
when they're not doing what they're doing. Like, obviously, Michael Jordan and all these, they're fantastically talented. I'm not saying that they're really smart people, but you're asking yourself, yo, am I willing to be hated, reviled, have this many people have an opinion on me, work this hard? Like, I read somewhere that most billionaires only sleep like 4.5 hours.
I was going to say, this is the Bob Iger getting up to use the Versa climber at 4:30 in the morning.
I'll be honest with you.
Stay on top. It's like 74.
I'll be honest with you. Here's the thing. I am going to make a lot of money for my family, have a lot of success. I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep. I'm going to sleep. Okay, I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna take me. My talent's I'm gonna go as far as my talent will take me. I'm gonna work hard. I'm a hard worker. Whole nine. I'm going to sleep.
But there's two things with the Karm dream.
What?
One, the price you pay to become great, which he's painfully aware from, and that's what season 3 is about. But then there's the other piece: is what if you pay that price? You're still not great.
It doesn't happen.
And that's season 4.
Yep.
So, look, people can obviously, one of the great things about TV shows when they're really good, and I'm glad this show exists, and anybody, whether you're mad at this season or whatever, like, it's still important that the show exists. There's been very few shows that just make you think about shit beyond the show anymore.